A lot of people are finally waking up to why a lot of gun owners were quite displeased at the announcement that Pam Bondi would be the next US Attorney General, as a lot of her previous and current actions against the Second Amendment and other things have caught more and more attention over time, especially on Twitter. However, there's only so much a tweet can put forward compared to a YouTube video, so that's why Wubba Bubba is here today to fill that void by taking a quick glimpse at Pam Bondi's terrible track record on the Second Amendment. And I will strictly be looking at her gun control actions and stances on gun control, nothing else, because A, you can find a plethora of videos arguing one way or another on her other stances, B, I personally think her two-way track record is her biggest flaw, and C, it keeps the video from being all over the place. So with that out of the way, let's just get into our most notable Second Amendment cave-ins from her position as Attorney General of Florida to her current gig as the United States Attorney General. As Attorney General in Florida from 2011 to 2019, her office repeatedly fought to keep the restrictions of open carry in Florida intact. Before 2025, Florida had very strict open carry laws, to the point where it was effectively illegal in most circumstances. So having your office defending a law that restricts the right to literally bear arms in public is at its core anti-Second Amendment. She was successful in preventing open carry from being legalized during her time as Attorney General of Florida. However, in 2025, the outright ban on open carry was overturned, so Floridians can finally choose between open or concealed carry based on their preferences. In 2018, she endorsed a wide range of gun control measures in reaction to a specific event that happened in Parkland. And this wasn't some behind the curtains talk or something else. Pam was very public on these stances.
Mental health, which is huge. It has a gun violence restraining order in there. It raises the age of purchasing an assault rifle to 21, and it's banning bump stocks.
Okay, now that's a comprehensive
approach. Much more, but here's what our proposal is in Florida. It's called the Gun Violence Restraining Order. What will happen is law enforcement can and should automatically remove any firearms, because that shows you're a danger to yourself or others. Then after someone is released from civil commitment, law enforcement will have 72 hours to go before a judge and ask the judge if they choose to hold those guns even longer.
A lot of these laws she endorsed ended up passing into law thanks to Democrats and Republicans caving in, but Florida right now is a completely different state than it was even 5 years ago, and a lot of these restrictions are finally being rolled back by the courts, and more pro-gun legislators are fighting it out in the legislative branches. So Florida's future looks brighter for gun owners. But do you know what I think is the cherry on top of Pam Bondi's prior record? Well, remember that press conference Trump was taking part in when he was flirting with red flag laws for the first time? 3 guesses who was in that room with him.
We are going to bring in something called the Gun Violence Restraining Order. So what we want to do is let law enforcement come in and take the guns.
Good.
They're a danger to themselves,
which you can't
or
do
others.
right now.
Yep, she was worming her way to Trump's graces and influencing his pretty abysmal stance against gun owners at the time. Yeah, he backed off on red flag laws after realizing how terrible it is to say
take the firearms first and then go to court.
But makes you wonder if she also influenced him when he went through with the bump stock ban.
Really makes you think.
Sadly, her loyalty to Trump throughout the years paid off, and she was made Attorney General of the United States after his first pick fell through, for some sketchy reasons. Less than a year has passed since Pam being sworn in, and her Department of Justice has made multiple terrible two-way decisions that undermine any other positive change her Department of Justice has made. For starters, at the beginning of Trump's second term, she was tasked via executive order in February to investigate all of Biden's executive infringements towards the Second Amendment. Her Department of Justice was to report back within 30 days, and those 30 days came and went with nothing to show. So already off to a rocky start of her career, but over the months, it just kept getting worse. In late March, a U.S. attorney working for Bondi's Justice Department tried to deny an appeal to the conviction of Navy sailor Patrick Adamiak. Patrick was arrested in 2022 for actual bullshit reasons. The government claimed he sold machine guns, machine gun parts, and RPGs, but in actuality, his crime was selling legal firearm parts that have been floating around the American gun market for years. And the cherry on top, that scary RPG he owned was inert, aka a training RPG that you can legally purchase. suspicious. But that didn't stop the feds at all from being complete asshats, and they sentenced him to 20 years in prison. If you want a little more detail on this case, I recommend this MrGunsGear video on Patrick that goes over the whole situation. But anyway, new administration gets put into office that's supposedly pro-2A. Patrick attempts to appeal his conviction, and one of Bondi's goons attempts to keep him locked up by sending a letter to the United States Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit, referencing the Supreme Court Bondi v. Vanderstock as reason for why an innocent man shouldn't be released from jail. Reminder, this attorney works for the Department of Justice, which is Bondi's turf. To this day, Bondi's DOJ has continued to fight against Patrick's fight to overrule his convictions, so it wasn't just a mistake on the part of one attorney. It's an active witch hunt against an innocent man. Moving on, her Department of Justice has continued to defend the engaged in the business Biden-era rule against civilians engaging in private sales despite being directed by Trump to investigate each rule for potential Second Amendment violations. While they are reportedly looking into if the engaged in the business rule is anti-Second Amendment or not, which it is, that's not stopping them from enforcing it as we speak. Shifting focus to another one of her personal screw-ups, during a congressional hearing in June, Pam personally advocated for an ATF-DEA merger.
ATF will keep its brand. DEA will keep its brand. But what they're doing, they're going under one umbrella, doing away with the bureaucracy at the top. These agents are going, they want to be out hunting down criminals.
Pam, you have to realize, if someone as flip-floppy on the Second Amendment like Lindsey Graham thinks your idea blows, it means it blows.
This whole DEA thing, I don't know who's thinking about that, but that just makes like zero sense to me. We'd want to be cutting the DEA now and putting ATF over the DEA, so
In the spooky month of October, several gun rights organizations, most prominently the Second Amendment Foundation and Firearms Policy Coalition, teamed up and won a lawsuit in the Fifth Circuit that found the 18 to 20-year-olds being prohibited from purchasing handguns to be unconstitutional. After this ruling, the Department of Justice attorneys, via a statement, requested the gun rights groups involved in the case to hand over their members list so they can know who is affected by this judgment. After a bit of backlash, the DOJ amended their language in the statement to make it clear it wasn't mandatory, and later did agree that the members' identities should be protected. This specific scenario is very murky, and we can argue all day about what the Fed's original intent was. Hold it! Well, looky-loo. While editing this video, the DOJ is yet again seeking a list of gun owners' identities in a different case they lost relating to the post office gun ban. This time they're trying to be all slick by begging the judge to make the injunction only apply to members of the gun organizations, which of course the identities need to be verified by the government. Makes you wonder why they really need those names. I really can't put my thumb on why they would want a list of gun owners, besides really wanting to make sure who that injunction covers. Wait, I just thought, never mind, it just slipped my mind. So we may never know the Fed's true intentions. The last screw-up I want to cover is her Department of Justice actively defending the NFA by posing a case relating to deregulating suppressors. The National Firearm Act, as of right now, is being litigated by multiple gun groups due to the tax stamp cost on NFA items being reduced to $0, which effectively makes the NFA more blatantly unconstitutional than ever before. However, in October, her Department of Justice argued in defense of the NFA in United States versus Pearson, in which a man was indicted for possessing a suppressor that wasn't registered under the NFA. Let me read you some choice quotes from this briefing against this case being reheard, signed by a U.S. state attorney that's representing Bondi's side. Quote, NFA's shall issue licensing regime is presumptively constitutional. The NFA regulation at issue does not target ordinary firearms such as handguns, but only non-essential firearm accessories that are uniquely adaptable to criminal misuse. Law-abiding citizens remain free to possess suppressors, so long as they register them. I think you guys get the picture of why a growing number of gun owners, myself included, want someone else in the Department of Justice's chair. Pam Bondi being called the most pro-2A Attorney General is a sick joke. I don't care that she's made some good pro-2A decisions in the last year. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and she could just flip-flop on it the very next day. Yeah, it's a complete long shot and likely to never happen, but as long as we continue to publicly air our grievances towards her objectively dogshit record, maybe something, just something, may happen. Nothing ever happened. Hope you guys enjoyed this bite-sized look into Pam's record. I'm going to try and maintain a more active uploading schedule because I think I saw a couple of you guys starting to turn hollow. Thank you all for tuning in, and if you're watching this at the time of upload, happy Halloween.